Hello guys, today I'm interviewing Louis Greene. He's 14 wins, 3 defeats, 8 big wins by knockout. And yeah, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad.
Good to hear.
Yeah. And my first question for you is, what's been your hardest fight in your career so far?
Probably Freddie Hewitt for the Southern Area title. I think it was about my 9th fight, mate. And that was a real back and forward, that one. We were both bleeding quite heavily, and it went to full. And I'd never been 10 rounds. I'd only been 6 rounds once, and then I went 10 rounds with him, and we were both backwards and forwards the whole fight. And I won on over 10 rounds.
Yeah, so was that your first professional title?
That was my first professional title, mate. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So where was that fight at?
That was up at York Hall, Bethnal Green.
Yes. It's a good venue, isn't it?
The Mecca of boxing, they call it. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, so he was your toughest challenge today. Why is that?
Just because of how the fight was, mate. The fight was relentless. Where I was on him all the time. We were both giving it everything. So I think we were head to head. He was on the ropes. I was in front of him. We just stood there swapping out punches. He'd had a lot of knockouts. I think he'd had nine knockouts in about 13 fights with 1 loss, or 14 fights.
Yeah, he was like 13 wins, 1 defeat or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so we both stood the line with each other, and I was able to get that off of him. But that was probably the most grueling fight I've been in. Yeah, definitely.
Out of the 10 rounds, how many of the rounds do you think you won?
Cool. Do you know what? It was a very, very close fight. I remember after the first round, I got the first round. I feel the 3rd, the 4th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 9th, I feel I had.
Yeah, so when it went to decision, you thought that you did enough.
I felt I did enough. He felt he did enough. But I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't have been as ignorant as he was after the fight. I would have been okay if they called it even or whatever. The fight was so tough. It was a good fight to be in. People remembered it. Got a really good write up in a newspaper. One of the promoter, I can't remember the bloke's name. He wrote we called it a small hall classic. So I was very proud of that.
So was Freddie a bit of a bad sport?
Nah, he just put over all over his social media that he was robbed and it was unfair. But on the night when we got out, he didn't say nothing to me. He shook my hand, and I went into his changing room. I shook his hand. I'll do it every fight. I went in and shook his hand and said, "Well done. It was a hard fight." He said, "Oh yeah, it's not good for your health being in fights like that." But a couple of days later, he was a little bit twisted up by it.
Yeah, I think he was a bit upset.
Yeah, I agree with him. He was a bit upset, mate, but there's boxing, isn't it?
Yeah. What about Joe Hayes? Because you stopped Joe.
I broke my hand in the first round of that fight. So I was quite pleased that I was able to get rid of him in the second round, because I didn't want it going all night where my right hand was broken.
How many rounds was it?
2. Luckily, I broke my hand in the first round, and then I stopped him in the second. So I was lucky.
No, I mean, how many rounds was?
That was a 10 round. I was defending my Southern Area.
Oh yeah.
So that's 10 rounds.
Yes. So was he? How did you break your hand? Did you hit him funnily?
I threw an uppercut as he bent forward, and my hand like skimmed the top of his head, and it made my hand go numb. And I thought, "Cool, that don't feel right." And then it felt like my knuckle had been pushed back in my hand. I didn't want to say nothing in the corner, because when I got back to the corner, everything that we'd gone over was working. I didn't want to change my game plan, so I thought, I'll see how round 2 goes. I knew he was he's a hard man as well. So I thought, if I get past the second with him, then I'm going to have to change game plan, because my hand by that time was weren't good.
Yeah. But you got the job done and you got the stoppage win, which was the main thing.
Got the job done, boy. That's right.
Yes, mate. What about your first defeat to Larry? I can't pronounce his surname.
Ekandeo.
Ekandeo. Yeah, that's it.
I was obviously very gutted about that fight, but I made many mistakes, many mistakes in camp for that fight, and he capitalised on it on the night of the fight. I got in close. It didn't work when I got in close. I was able to get in close on him and work him and go over with him, but I didn't push like I normally do and throw all my shots, and he took advantage of it. So I've got no excuses for that one. He beat me on the night, mate.
Yeah. Wait, so when it went to decision, did you think that you were going to lose?
Yeah, I knew I'd lost the fight. I knew my dad told me in the corner, listen, like in the ninth, you've got to knock him out to win. Then you're not going to win the fight now. You've got to knock him out.
Yeah, fair enough. It wasn't your night. Was it tough coming back from your defeat?
No, I found it easier to come back because I had a point to prove, you know.
Really? So you weren't nervous going into your comeback fight? Because that was no easy fight. He's got a good record on him. He's a good fighter.
Yeah, no. I could have gone and picked a bit of a wally to fight. I didn't want it to fight. I don't like fighting them kind of fellas who have got one win in 200 fights. I can't sell. You know, I'm not going to sell tickets if I fight a man like that.
What? Because it's not like a 50-50 and you want to be in 50-50s all the time.
People don't want to watch a bloke tuck up and walk around the outside. People want to watch you come and have a fight with someone, you know. So I don't want to hang up my gloves from boxing and look at my record and think I fought no one really, you know what I mean?
Well, you can't say that because you've been in massive fights, big 50-50s. Even though you came up short in a few, you've always been in the fight and you're always, there.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in many hard fights. Some of the fights I've got on my record, I've had some pull-outs. I had a few boys pull out on the day of the fight, so I've had someone fill in. But I had people. One boy I was supposed to, he's unbeaten in about 7, and I'd only had 2 fights, and his mate filled in. He was 7-0, and I was 2-0. So I was going into my 3rd fight, going into his 8th fight, and he pulled out in the morning of the fight with a family tragedy. So I would have had more unbeaten boys across my record, having circumstances been different. So I wouldn't have had no journeyman on my record.
Well, you've got the odd journeyman like Jamie Quinn.
That was the boy. He filled in on the day of my fight when his mate pulled out. So he done me a favour and filled in.
Oh!
Yeah.
And then on your debut, normally you just get given a journeyman, which is, and you managed to stop him.
I got Dan Naylor fought for the Southern area twice. He was he's a tough fella. And when I got there, he was in really good shape. He trying to intimidate me, giving me, staring at me and backstage and things. But that don't really bother me, to be fair. And then when the bell went, I stopped. So that was a good result to stop him in my first fight, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. It was. What about Lucas? I can't pronounce his name.
Lucas Wisbecki.
Yeah, him. The one
18-0. Yeah.
And you stopped him.
Showed him up, got hold of him. That's right.
Yeah.
That was a really good fight, wasn't it?
Yes, mate. Do you ever get nervous before your fights?
I think everyone, you all. I get more nervous in sparring, believe it or not. Not so much for my fights. Sparring, I get nerves, bad nerves.
Why?
I think because on the day of the fight, I know I'm there in small gloves, and the bell's gonna go, and we're just gonna go out and go at it, you know. So that's that. But with sparring, I don't know. I've always had it, even since I was an amateur. I prefer the fights to sparring, even though you spar every week. So I don't know. I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Strange, isn't it?
Yeah. What about the fight with Birdman Sanchez? Because he's no journeyman. I mean, he's got like quite a few defeats on him, but he always comes forward and he always tries to take your head off, which is good.
He does, right. That's what he fought George Linares as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Berman's a tough man.
Yeah, he was an hard man. I mean, I boxed him after I beat the Polish boy, and I think he just been a distance with someone who was 18-0, the weight above me, because I was at welterweight at the time. So when I fought him, I knew he was going to be tough, but he just retired on his stall after the fifth.
Yeah, I didn't think he wanted any more, mate.
Go on, mate. You there?
I didn't think he wanted to come out for that 6th round.
No, he waved his head. He told the ref no. He said, no, I've had enough.
Yeah.
So,
What was he easy for you? Did you make him look easy?
I just stayed in front of him, walked him down. I didn't have no bruises. He didn't take no punch, not really any punches. He had a really good left hook though. He had a really good left hook, but I just got on top of him, swamped him. And in the 5th round, I landed some big uppercuts. I could see his face. Like when we get in it, his eyes was going, and I thought they were hurting him. And then a few belly shots went in, and then I said, got to the corner, and my dad said, now go right through the gears now, because you've only got a few rounds left. So I said, all right. So that's when I was going to really go up it. I was going to go for it for the last 3, 6, 7, and 8. I was going to put my foot right down. But he didn't come out.
Yeah. But I bet you were happy that you got another stoppage win.
Yeah, I was over the moon. I didn't think he was going to retire, to be fair. When we was in there, I thought I was going to, if I stop him, I thought I'd stop him on his feet. I didn't think, or I was going to put him over. I didn't think he was going to not come out.
Yeah.
Tough.
And then you took a big fight as well against Louis Crocker. Unluckily, you came up a bit short. You got stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel after that? Were you upset that you got stopped?
Not necessarily, because I said to the Polish boy when I knocked him out, someone said one of his fights, I watched his fight after me, and he was very scared of getting hit. And so I sent him a message, and I said, listen, you can't let being stopped, because I mean, even as an amateur, I knocked a lot of people out as an amateur. I had 27 fights, and I had 18 of them hit the floor as an amateur, and I've got Ed guard on and 12-ounce gloves, so I've got a lot of knockouts. So I said to him, I'm a very big puncher. If you get knocked out by someone who
Louis?
is on the Irish teams and one of the best coming out of Ireland. So I just made, again, with the fights, like the hard fights I'm in, I didn't have no sparring for that fight. My learning curves have been in my fights, mate. When I get big, hard fights, I learn on the job. I don't bother fighting journeyman and whatever. I learn in the fight. So that one, I had to learn some lessons in that fight that couldn't get away with certain things.
Yeah. What about your fight with, we'll talk about this year. Firstly, I'll talk about, I think it was the English title fight.
Yeah, with Scarf.
Yeah. You lost by unanimous decision. Yeah.
Again, I with that fight, I stood back. My feet were really, really wide apart. And I was in the corner. I'm being told, just chuck the right hand. And I said, the right hand ain't working. I should have stood up and adapted earlier. I got the experience to do it as well. I just did not do it. I should have used my experience, mate, and used my brain a bit more and rushed him heavier than standing back and letting him throw these little flurry punches. Because he wasn't as strong as some of the boys I thought. He wasn't technically as good as some of the boys I thought. I just let him capitalise on silly things.
It was on Sky Sports. I remember watching it on TV.
That's right, mate. Yeah, Wembley Arena.
It was a good fight.
Not one of my best fights, but I pride myself on always being in an entertaining fight. So as long as it's entertaining, I suppose it weren't too bad.
Yeah. Would you rematch Harry?
I'd rematch any of the boys who I've lost to. I'll fight any one of them again.
Wait, so is Larry still fighting?
Larry bless that man. He's had an extremely hard life. I believe his wife has just passed away.
Oh.
After his children being very sick, and I believe he's actually a cab driver now. So, believe it or not, when I boxed him, it got me out of a bit. I was in a very bad place at the time, and fighting him actually earned me money to get me out of a bit of a situation I was in. And if I could do anything to help that man, I would, because I think people in the boxing community, if you read about his life, it's quite inspirational. I think you should come together and try and help him out. He's had some very bad luck, that man. Not nice at all.
Yeah. Hopefully, I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I hope he's all right and all.
Yeah. Back to the Harry Scar fight. Are you like a big ticket seller?
For my big fights, I have no problem selling. I mean, because I was supposed to, before the Crocker fight, I was supposed to fight Michael McKinson 3 times.
But Mikey McKinson, who fought Ortiz?
Yeah, that fight was signed before the Crocker fight. I was supposed to fight him, and then I just got a call to say that twice it hasn't happened. And then the third time, the COVID thing hit in. And then they phoned up and said, look, we've got a fight for Lou, but no one wants it. Does Lou want the fight? And by that time, I just went, look, yeah, I was at work when I took that fight as well, and the scarf. I said, yeah, listen, I'll take that fight. So I'm not going to turn the fight away.
Yeah. What about in the fight you took in Poland against another unbeaten kid? You went to Poland.
Again,
did you take many people up from England to Poland? Did you have a few people there?
I had a lot of boys saying to me they wanted to come over there, but I didn't know where it was. Couldn't find out that, because the first time I went, I was at the wrong hotel. Then they said, "Oh, we've taken you to the..." So there was so much messing around that I didn't know what was going on. So I had to say to the boys, "Look, you can't come. I'll have to send you the link, because I don't even know the details myself." And they didn't send me the details until very close, so no one could really book anything up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. So was the crowd mainly behind him, as it was like in his home country?
Do you know what? The first time I went, they were quite hostile. But again, that don't really bother me. I expect it. So I spat water over them and was quite rude myself. But the second time, they were actually lovely, really humble people, really nice. When I walked down to the ring, I got a nice clap and a cheer. They was all right. I even had a drink with them afterwards. I had a couple of beers with the boys' team after the fight. So they was all right. They were nice people.
So did you see that guy after you stopped him in the 5th round?
Yeah, after he was in my hotel. We come back to the hotel and I bought him a beer. And then his brother was there, his wife and everyone. So I bought them all a beer, and my team sat with his team and the promoters, and we all had a drink and a chat. They were nice people.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, they were nice people. They're very humble people. It was all right over there.
Are you signed with Ben Shalom?
No, I'm not. Do you know, I'm not signed with anyone, mate. I've got a manager called Mark Rowe, and Mark Rowe's been in boxing for years. He's done some really big fights. Been involved in boxing for years and years. So I wouldn't have another manager. So he gets me people go for him for my fights, and then he's always got me big fights, hard fights. Yeah. So that's maybe I'll sign with a boxer. I've got to beat one of their boys first, and then I might get a signing one.
Yeah. When are you next fighting? Fight day?
I'm looking towards the end of November. As soon as I get a proper date. And they're in the middle of doing posters now, and I can't say nothing about it because nothing's been released yet. I'll send it straight over to you, Sam. Yeah?
Yeah, mate. Hopefully I can come and support.
If it's... where are you?
I'm near Reading area, but I can go down... I don't know. It depends.
This might be right up somewhere freezing cold. So, and I mean far, hours and hours and hours away. So, as soon as I get all of my...
Is it England or...?
No. As soon as I get my information, Sam, I'll send it straight over to you. And if you wanted to do interviews leading up to that fight through or whatever, you just send me a message, boy, and we can do this anytime you feel like it.
Yeah. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Do you watch boxing when you're not fighting? Are you a fan of the sport?
Yeah, I like the sport. I love it, but I prefer the old fights, the fights that no one really watches anymore. I don't really watch nowadays fights, only unless if I'm fighting someone or I'm at an event, then I'll watch it. But other than that, I don't really watch the nowadays boxing now.
So what fighters did you like when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I liked Toro Gatti.
Who's that?
You don't know who that is?
No.
Oh, you got to type in. You want to watch a good fight? Type in Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward. Fight number 1.
Yeah, and who won the fight?
You've got to watch it. I'm not going to tell you. You've got to watch that fight. It's regarded as as the best fight in boxing.
Is it?
That one and Corrales versus Castillo. Have you seen that one?
I think I might have seen that one.
One of the best rounds you'll ever see. They were the fighters that I grew up watching. Marco Antonio Barrera. You know him? Yep. Edwin Valero. You heard of him?
Yeah.
Pacquiao, obviously. Eric Morales. Ricky Hatton was another. Costa Zoo.
Did you like the fight with Ricky Hatton and Costa Zoo?
Very business-minded, mate, because the boy, Ricky Hatton, was young and Costa Zoo was, although he was still a danger man, he was quite past his best. So it was a good fight for Ricky, not a good fight for Costa Zoo.
So when that fight was announced, did you think that Ricky was going to win because Ricky was coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I was a young boy at the time. My dad's my trainer, and my dad was a good boxer when he was younger. So I used to sit and watch him with my dad, and he used to say to me, "No, Ricky's going to get this one. He's passed it a little bit, the other fella." But the other fella could punch. He was a big puncher. So if someone's a big puncher, you can never count them out because there might be 10 seconds left in a round, and all of a sudden they land that shot, bang.
Yeah,
so you never know.
Exactly. You just never know with boxing.
No, you never know, mate.
Yeah. And my last question for you is, do you have any advice for someone who wants to be a boxer when they're older?
Yeah, I've got plenty of advice. You get a very good amateur background, a good amateur pedigree behind you, and you go with someone who you can try to trust as best as you can, because there's a lot of corruption in boxing, there's a lot of business in boxing, and you've got to get very thick-skinned. So that opinions on do not bother you. There's a lot of advice that you can give to young people. It's a very good sport for discipline, but if you're gonna do it, you do it properly, and you do it with people that are gonna look after you. They've got their best interest in you, not their pocket for money.
Yeah. And do you want to shout out your manager before you go, or your sponsors?
Shout out Trojan Flooring, KBH Building Services, because they've been to me from both of them boys have been to me right from the beginning. Helped my camps massive. Rochester Deluxe Frenchies, that's my other sponsor up here, who runs a gym, Sweatbox Boxing Gym, Brian Sanders that is, and my manager Mark Rowe. I'd like to give all them a big shout out.
Yeah.
And I'd like to give you a big shout out and all, Sam, for taking the time to interview me, boy.
Thank you, mate. And thank you for your time, mate.
You're welcome. Anytime you want, you just send me a message, boy, and you can interview me whenever you want. It's been lovely.
Thanks, champ, and God bless you.
You're welcome. Take care, Sam.
Bye.
Bye, boy.